And this is one thing that we haven't seen yet in our country. We haven't seen yet in the Congo. If anything, trust is not a word that actually we can use freely in the public sphere in the DRC, be it in the country or in the diaspora. We cannot. We don't trust each other. We especially when it comes to working together, when it comes to being together and working for a common cause, we don't trust each other enough. But there's always a beginning. There's a starting point, and this could be a starting point. This could be the generation that will start breaking down that some would call it a curse, but I don't think it's a curse. I just think that we let things pile up. We are too individualistic. We haven't taken cognizance of the fact that power is in the group. Power is in the networks within the group. Power is in the trust that you find in our communities. Then you would have economic benefit of it. What are we talking about in this on this slide? We're saying, who do you turn to when you are in a nice villa in Sandton or in Pretoria East or wherever it is in Cape Town, and you have some plumbing work to be done in your home? Who do you turn to? Probably to the best guy that will do the job at most cost-effective price. But would that big guy what would be your order of priority or your picking order among the different service providers? If you have a Nigerian, you have a Congolese, and you have a Zimbabwean, and you have a South African, who do you pick up first? So these are the things that we are talking about. There's got to be a deliberate way of doing these things. There's got to be a deliberate way of trusting each other. For one, I've had some unsavory experiences with my fellow compatriots in some of these small jobs that you come to do, you offer in your house. But look, this is not the end. I don't think if you go in the Indian community, they will tell you, no, I trust a Congolese more than an Indian. No, they would trust one of their own in spite of some shortcomings that are just humans. So we've got to look at that and be able to see how our community can develop within that, with this perspective, okay? So now, when you take into account the different aspects of life in a group and life in a society, one of the main things that one has to be to take into account is the building of a capital, just like your financial capital. The building of a capital is as a result of many and different factors that will come into play. When we build social capital, we have many ingredients to it. We have networks, we have trust and safety, and we have the sense of belonging. And this is something that we probably need to work toward in order to see it happening. And this is one thing I think I should give credit to Kabongo by engaging in a number of activities that have been promoting a sense of belonging to the Congolese community in the diaspora in South Africa, and creating some values. And creating some values around that. This also has been something that we've seen coming up, and I really hope to see it growing. It's some sort of participation in some form of social life. So all those are ingredients that will start, making up this capital that would share in our community, and eventually seeing it growing into other forms of capital and translating into more. a lot of people for a number of, for a long time in academic literature, it was not a big factor in economic development. But now, this is something that is now being written and written in academic papers, in business and economic papers, that there is an empirical relationship between economic success and social capital indicators. This has been shown through various dimensions of social capital. There's been some causality, meaning cause and effect relationship between good economic performance and social capital. And as we said, if you look at some nations that are well off economically, you would find that their unit of analysis in that nation, their unit of analysis, meaning communities and ethnic groups within those nations, have very strong networks and are very strong and high social capital. So the concept of social capital, it draws, yes, so far it draws attention to particular institution of economic life, but more and more we're seeing that there is now documented relationship between trusts and economic development. And trust here is just another way of saying social capital. It is now being documented that communities that have higher level of trust among their members achieve greater development, greater individual emancipation, and greater economic development within their circles. Just another example, you've seen probably, if you read some newspaper or read the statistics in South Africa, in terms of development of the different communities in South Africa after 1994. I don't think you'll be surprised to see that communities that have seen a greater growth in their economic prospect, the academic prospect, economic prospect, and in every sphere of life, you won't be surprised to see that first you have, of course, you have white, but you'll be surprised, would you be surprised to hear that the second community to have seen a greater growth is the Indian community in South Africa? Look at the indices in South Africa in terms of the number of high academic profile or academic profile individuals, economic actors, and greater wealth detained by individuals within South Africa. Greater growth since 1994 within certain group of people, and among those, Indians are the second group with the highest growth. And all that why? Because they have been able to tap into their social capital. And with that, you see, it leads us to a very interesting concept that is now emerging in economic literature, in the theories of economic development, is the concept of social capitalism. Especially with the last world crisis that we had in 2008, and now with the collapse of the world economy through this COVID, people are getting to ask themselves questions and say, wait a minute, is capitalism the answer to our needs for more liberty and more equality and justice? Is capitalism the right answer? Because everybody was kind of convinced after the collapse of socialism, not everybody necessarily, but more and more people were convinced after the collapse of socialism that capitalism was the only way to go. But more and more, there is now a new emerging concept of social capitalism, which would be a sort of a reorganization of our society in order for us, in a way that we would, people would benefit, or more people will benefit of the riches or the wealth or of a society, in spite of their individual ability to tap into or to create wealth. You see, because capitalism is all about what? Creating wealth with your human capital and natural capital that you'd have, creating wealth for yourself in a free market. So which is a very good concept. However, have we been able to spread that around? So by tackling the issue of social capital, you cannot stop there and say that you would achieve something if you do not go the extra mile of tackling the needs of other people in society that you live together with. So it's extremely important that we look at the benefits that we derive from living together, the benefits that we get by, sticking to some network in some community. And the potential benefits would be mainly facilitation of higher levels, meaning we would be able to, as a group, first of all, at an individual level, we would be able to gain from strength of other community members through the networks and the interpersonal relationship that we have. And once the group start growing bigger, this could be seen at the level of a community, a greater community, and this can now even be replicated at the level of a country and contribute to the increase in the GDP of a country. We can see that in the level of creating employment from what you would consider as the menial tasks in a society to greater and more complex level of employment and level of labor expression. So these are the benefit that one would derive from a social capital that is built with a purpose, that we would do things with a purpose to empower each other within a community. Of course, if we can do that, then we would see an effect, or we see an impact on government and on public institutions. But of course, it would not be complete to just raise the positives, which are great actually, of this capital, but they also of the social capital, but they also some liabilities, some of the stuff that may come with it, with the process of creating and enhancing social capital. There are some liabilities, some negative things that one need to be cognizant of in order to be able to prevent their occurrence. And these are things that we see. It is very easy for a community that builds itself to be a closed network and to totally live or exist in insulation vis-a-vis other communities. So these could be things that could happen. They could be liabilities, but it's all depend on how you talk about them. So one need to be able to say, yes, we build each other within the community, but we are not going to exclude, and we are not going to isolate ourselves from the rest of the world. We're going to still be open in order to learn more from the world, but achieving greater cohesion, social cohesion within the group. So these are the important things that when we build social capital purposely within our groups, we should be able to have an eye on and organize ourselves in order not to be isolated. Closing, I wanted to share with you just this small video. I hope it's...
Grandpa, tell me the story of my country.
It's not only the story of a powerful river, nor the story of a huge forest, the second green breath of the planet, covering one of the world's greatest biodiversities and the solution to many of our future challenges. It's not only the story of mannequins or smart monkeys called bonobos. not also the story of the unique flora and fauna of a wild, untouched natural environment. It's not simply the legend of a beautiful and marvelous land where the most tasty fruits and vegetables grow, nor the story of great explorers and of a nation with a moving and complex history. It's not solely the story of a warm-hearted and welcoming people, king of cheerfulness with an incredible sense of celebration. Not the story of a place where we find the world's most rhythmical dances, not the story of a mining El Dorado, nor the story of a culture with an infinite variety found in the art, customs, and folklore of more than 450 ethnic groups. It's not only the story of a boiling capital with more than 10 million inhabitants, nor the story of 26 provinces, each more beautiful and wealthier than the other. Not the story of a country sparkling with opportunities. It's above all the story that we will build together.
Tourism in the Democratic Republic of Congo. It's time to invest in the land of the future.
So we would build this country together by starting to build our different communities. The diaspora now is a separate community. So I would like to end my presentation there and say, I would really like to see the work that Congo is doing go forward by bringing people together with the purpose. And the purpose is to create wealth. And one important aspect of that wealth is among ourselves, through the relationships that we build and through the networks that we build among ourselves. And this is, we do it consciously. And if we do it with the purpose, would be our greatest weapon to support the country's development, because Congo has got minerals and all these natural resources, but Congo hasn't been able to develop to its potential simply because I believe we have not tapped into our social capital. And I thank you for that.
Merci beaucoup, Dr. Bomby, pour votre brillante présentation, combien bénéfique et profonde. Alors, je voudrais vous demander s'il y a quelqu'un qui a une question ou des questions à poser au docteur. Je vous passe la parole maintenant. Prière de lever votre main et vous pouvez commencer à poser votre question. Merci.
I can start. Thank you very much, Doctor, for the brilliant presentation. I want to know, as part of this brilliant exercise of thinking on how to exploit the social capital, how can we benefit in terms of a model that can drive maybe a movement to enhance the social capital of Congolese in South Africa and in the world? That is the first question. The second one is there an example of a country that has benefited from its social capital to drive high-level development to benefit its people? Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question. I believe I'm allowed to answer immediately.
Yes.
Yes,
okay.
Please.
Yeah. What can we do in practical terms, and how can we do that? I think we have been doing some of the things, but we have been doing them in sort of isolation. People have been working literally in their different corners, and we haven't been able to see the benefits of the different works that are being done. I think probably most of you know Perot. He's been very active in things like employment opportunities and job creation and things like that. I think we tried with him a few years ago to have a sort of annuary or a directory of different expertise of compatriots in South Africa and be able to distribute that to different members of the community, so that if you have something that you need or be done in your home or in your business, you sort of see first who do you turn to. The principle there is, how can we do that? First, the answer is we have to do it with a purpose. You see, if you see in South Africa today that at a national level, there is a conversation, a policy conversation of what they would call positive discrimination. All right, it's a term that lawyers use, but you see, positive discrimination simply means what? Meaning we're going to discriminate against some people for the benefits, for our own benefits or benefit of those of ours, all right? So you have that. Apartheid was a positive discrimination for some people, depending on which side of the fence you were. BEE is a positive discrimination. So those are, at a greater level, you take a policy decision, a policy orientation in that. So at the community level, what can we do there? How do we do that? Through our network. Look, I'm pretty sure that you see we attend churches. We are very church-going people, Congolese, everywhere. There's always a Congolese church somewhere. Even when there's no Congolese church, there's always a group of Congolese within a certain church. So those are units of communication that we can use to build up networks. Remember, the key words in building a social capital, key words are trusts. Trust, then communication, and then networks. So trust, there's got to be a high level of trust among members of one community for it to start making sense, for somebody to forego an opportunity of a better service with somebody else outside the community and just rely on somebody within the community. And that's, other people, other communities are very good at doing that. That's why I say, I mentioned the Indian community in South Africa, all right? The Jews, the Pakistanis, the Bengalis. Look, in the Congo, in the DRC, we all know the story. Lebanese come here in slippers, and after 10 years, they live with millions. Why? The networks, the social capital plays very well. So how do we do that? At least the principles are there. We have a serious trust issue within our community. And because we have a serious trust issue, our communication is highly negative. So if we enhance our trust within ourselves, among community members, the resultant communication will be positive. We will start talking about Congo and Congolese stuff and Congolese people and Congolese way of doing things in a positive way. Then our networks that we already have, so far we only use our network for, for funerals and marriages. Not that I have anything against about that, but can we now start using that for a purposeful economic empowerment? It's the same community. So how do we do that? I think principles are there. We've been trying many things in different corners in South Africa. I am passionate of getting involved in all sorts of these things, and I think I'll still continue getting involved. And I know Kabongo for some years, for the past couple of years that I've been involved with. And these are people that I've seen trying to build up something like that. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Kabongo is talking about a bank or a cooperative. I mean, now we're talking purposefully doing something meaningful. not only planning for parties and marriages and things. It's good to party, it's good to get married, but can we start purposefully building communities, building something useful within our community? Let's get people to say, okay, because we have trust issues, we can't give 1,000 rand. Then let's start with 10 rand. See, if we don't trust somebody with 1,000 rand, let them take our 10 rand, even if they misuse it, because those are real issues that we have in our community. So I think we can do that, and we are doing that. And COP Congo is one example of what is happening. There are many other forms of organization within our community. If we could build bridges and linkages between those different forms of organization that we have, I think we are on our way to that. We may be the last comer to the conversation, because if we look around in South Africa, for example, you would see that other communities, migrant communities, are better organized than we are. We are very fond of other things that are necessary to communities, but they're not very useful in building the wealth within a community. So we know what to do. And for your second question, as what country has built? All developed countries have developed on the back of social capital. All developed countries. It hasn't been analyzed properly. But talking about what is happening in Africa now, if you've been to Addis Ababa of late, you would see what we're talking about when we say use social capital to develop a country. Addis Ababa in the last 10, 15 years that I've been flying through is a change city. And when you talk to Ethiopians, what is going on? You see more and more diaspora Ethiopians coming back home. You see private hospitals being built. You see a number of initiatives. Private sector is vibrating, in Ethiopia. I mean, I remember in the 80s when we were young, Ethiopia wasn't synonymous with development, but it is now synonymous with development. It's something to note that Ethiopian Airways is the only airline to have made a positive balance sheet in the COVID era now. Why? Because people have learned from their past, and now they are building seriously on the little that they had, and they are showing results with their networks and reaping the remittance from overseas, from the diaspora. So things are happening. You can go as well, and Nigeria, I think they have a bank for the diaspora. Ghana as well, I've heard of something like that. So yes, there are countries in Africa that are now putting policies and mechanisms in place in their society at macro level to be able to tap into social capital. So we can influence that. Okay, the past government in the DRC had a minister for the diaspora. I haven't seen much of what she did, but at least it could have been a sign that we have begun thinking about it as a country. But then at the micro level, at community level, that's where we need to do most of the work, and that's where we have a problem with that.
Thank you very much, Doctor. I don't know if, is there anyone else who would like to ask a question? Please go ahead.
Mine is a comment. I think we have a very strong social background because of the reality of what we are going through in Congo, the killing and so forth. The only thing which is now putting Congolese together is the collective faith, in a way that we have been killed for years. And the only thing that you can see Congolese talking about when they are together is the suffering of our fellow brother and sister in DRC, and also the challenges most of our fellows are going through while abroad. So I think we can take stock of the social capital we are having and to build a very strong cooperative. I think I really did appreciate the way Doctor did. I like that aspect of social capital, I think we have to consider that. And also the spirituality also is coming as well, because people did realize there is no one who can overcome the pain we are going at home, and only prayer now is a solution. I think that is a difference with other countries where people are not really committed in a religion. But for us, as we did feel that there is no hope, you can discover that most of the people, most of the community, they only rely on God. So I really appreciate the way Dr. presented that aspect of social capital. Thank you.
See, thank you for that. Just to support again what my brother just said, we have a lot in common. And, you know, this nation, we have weathered so many storms, you know. The more the nation has been under threats of disintegrating, the closer we've come together. So now, the step that we were talking about, you know, of creating, transforming this network, this emotional strength that we have, is that shifts, mindset shift. There has to be a purposeful mindset shift. We have to make a deliberate decision that we as a community are going to use our strength, are going to use our networks, are going to use our togetherness for development and empowerment. Creating capital, financial capital, that would translate itself in some sort of economic development for the benefit of the nation. So that's where we're missing it. It's true. We are very much, we were quite a close community, but we do many things well except building financial capital, except building wealth. And this is where social capital has to be purposefully used for financial benefit of the community. Thank you.